Welfare trash like you shouldn't breed. The words hit Sarah Williams like a physical blow. Nurse Patricia Hendricks doesn't even glance up from her magazine, her thin lips curled in disgust. Sarah stands before the reception desk at Metropolitan General's ER, 8 months pregnant, doubled over in pain. Her dark skin glistens with sweat under harsh fluorescent lights. "Please, I have insurance," Sarah's voice cracks. "Don't lie to me." Patricia finally looks up, her cold blue eyes scanning Sarah from head to toe with obvious contempt. Sarah tries to step closer, clutching her belly. "My baby! Keep your distance!" Patricia shoots up from her chair. "Don't you dare raise your voice in my ER!" Patricia's palm connects with Sarah's cheek with vicious force. Sarah's head snaps sideways, her body lurching backward. She grabs the desk edge to keep from falling, her other hand protecting her unborn child. The waiting room falls silent. Security cameras capture everything. What Patricia doesn't know yet is that she just made the biggest mistake of her life. The antiseptic smell of Metropolitan General Hospital mingles with the faint odor of fear and desperation that clings to every emergency room at 3 a.m. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting harsh shadows across cracked linoleum floors that have seen too many tragedies. Sarah Williams sits hunched in a plastic chair, her hand still pressed against her stinging cheek. The red mark from Patricia's slap burns like a brand of shame. Around her, the waiting room tells 1,000 stories of human suffering. An elderly man coughs into a blood-stained handkerchief. A young mother rocks a feverish baby. A construction worker cradles his injured arm. But Sarah feels utterly alone. She pulls her worn cardigan tighter around her shoulders, trying to make herself invisible. Her wedding ring catches the light. A simple gold band that represents 3 years of happiness with James. They'd saved for months to buy their modest home in Riverside Heights, a quiet neighborhood where children ride bikes on tree-lined streets and neighbors still wave hello. Sarah teaches 2nd grade at Lincoln Elementary, where her students call her Mrs. W, and bring her crayon drawings of stick figures holding hands. She volunteers at the food bank on weekends and sings in the church choir every Sunday. Her life is simple, purposeful, ordinary. Nothing about Sarah Williams suggests she's anything more than what she appears to be. Behind the reception desk, Patricia Hendricks reigns like a queen over her sterile kingdom. At 45, she worked at Metropolitan General for 20 years, climbing from floor nurse to head of emergency services through sheer stubbornness and political maneuvering. Her blonde hair never shows a strand out of place. Her uniforms are always crisp, her shoes always polished. Patricia lives in a cramped apartment in Millfield, 30 minutes from the hospital. She drives a 15-year-old Honda with rust spots and a broken air conditioner. Her refrigerator is covered with bills, electricity, rent, car payment, each one a reminder of how far her nursing salary doesn't stretch. She watches doctors half her age drive luxury cars to their suburban mansions while she takes the bus when her Honda breaks down. She sees administrators with business degrees making decisions about patient care from their corner offices, while she deals with the blood and chaos on the front lines. Patricia has learned to find her power in small places. A harsh word here, a deliberate delay there. The ability to make someone wait just because she can. Tonight, like every night, she's the gatekeeper between pain and relief, and she decides who deserves which. The hospital itself reflects the city's deep divisions. Metropolitan General serves everyone from tech executives with platinum insurance to homeless addicts paying with crumpled Medicaid cards. The wealthy get private rooms and attentive service. The poor get folding chairs and suspicious glances. Dr. Jennifer Carter moves through the chaos with quiet efficiency. At 32, she's completing her residency in emergency medicine, working 18-hour shifts for barely enough money to pay her student loans. She notices everything. The way Patricia's voice changes depending on a patient's appearance, the longer wait times for certain demographics, the institutional blindness that allows discrimination to flourish. But residents don't challenge head nurses, not if they want good evaluations and job recommendations. Carlos Mendez pushes his mop across the floor with practiced movements, invisible to most staff and patients. He's worked the night shift for 8 years, supporting a family of 4 on wages that barely cover rent. Carlos sees everything that happens in these halls. He knows which nurses show compassion and which ones show contempt. His wife, Maria, works in the city planning office downtown. Sometimes she comes home with stories about the young mayor who's been shaking up the old boys' network, fighting for affordable housing and police reform. Carlos has never met this mayor, but he respects a man who stands up for working families. Security guard Mike Foster patrols the halls with weary eyes, 23 years on the force before retiring to this easier job. He's seen enough violence to recognize the warning signs when tension starts building. Tonight, he keeps glancing toward the reception desk where that pregnant woman sits alone, and toward Patricia, who's been getting more aggressive with each passing hour. The night shift operates under different rules. Fewer supervisors, less oversight, more opportunity for those in power to abuse it. And tonight, all of these lives are about to collide in ways none of them could imagine. Sarah checks her phone, 3:47 a.m. James is probably still at City Hall wrestling with budget numbers and council politics. She doesn't want to worry him unless absolutely necessary. He carries enough stress already. She just needs someone to check on her baby, someone to tell her everything will be okay. What she doesn't know is that everything is about to change forever. Sarah's cramping intensifies at 4:15 a.m. Sharp pains shoot through her lower back like electric jolts, and she feels a wetness between her legs that makes her heart race with terror. She's lost 2 babies before. She knows the warning signs. Rising slowly from her plastic chair, Sarah approaches Patricia's desk for what feels like the 100th time tonight. Her legs shake with each step. The fluorescent lights seem brighter now, more accusing. "Excuse me." Sarah's voice is barely a whisper. "I think I might be bleeding. Could someone please—" Patricia doesn't look up from her computer screen. Her fingers tap the keyboard with deliberate slowness, each keystroke a small act of cruelty. "I told you to wait your turn. But it's been over 3 hours, and I'm really scared that—" 3 hours? Patricia's laugh is sharp as broken glass. "Honey, some people wait all night. Maybe if you had better insurance, you'd get faster service." Sarah pulls out her insurance card with trembling fingers. "I have a Blue Cross, it's good coverage. My husband's job, save the stories." Patricia finally looks up, her blue eyes cold as Arctic ice. Every welfare case in here has some sob story about their husband's good job. Let me guess, he's a manager somewhere, right? Or maybe a supervisor. Heat floods Sarah's cheeks. "He works for the city. We're not on welfare. We pay our taxes and city worker." Patricia's voice drips with disdain. "Let me guess, sanitation, road crew? One of those cushy union jobs where you can't get fired no matter how lazy you are?" Sarah's hands instinctively protect her belly as another wave of pain crashes over her. "Please, I just need someone to check if my baby is okay. The bleeding is getting worse." Patricia stands slowly, using her height to tower over Sarah. "You know what your problem is? You people think pregnancy makes you special. I think it gives you the right to jump ahead of everyone else." The words "you people" hang in the air like poison gas. Other patients shift uncomfortably in their seats. A few pull out their phones, sensing drama brewing. "I'm not trying to jump ahead of anyone," Sarah says, her voice breaking. "I'm just scared for my baby." "Scared?" Patricia circles around the desk like a predator stalking prey. "You want to know what's scary? Having to deal with entitled people who think the world owes them something just because they managed to get pregnant." Dr. Jennifer Carter appears at the edge of the waiting area, having heard the raised voices. She takes in the scene. The pregnant woman clutching her belly, the head nurse looming over her like an avenging angel, the tension crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. "Is everything all right here?" Dr. Carter asks, her voice carefully neutral. Patricia spins around, her authority challenged. "Everything is fine, doctor. This patient is just having trouble understanding the concept of waiting her turn." "I've been waiting 3 hours," Sarah pleads to Dr. Carter. "I'm 8 months pregnant and I think something might be wrong." Dr. Carter's medical instincts kick in. "What kind of symptoms are you experiencing? Cramping, back pain, and some bleeding?" "She's being dramatic," Patricia interrupts. "Trust me, I've seen real emergencies. This isn't one." Dr. Carter frowns. "Bleeding at 34 weeks is potentially serious. We should at least do a quick assessment." "Dr. Carter," Patricia's voice turns Arctic, "I decide triage priorities in this ER. You're here to treat patients I assign to you, not to second-guess my professional judgment." The threat is clear. Dr. Carter's jaw tightens, but she's a resident. Patricia controls her evaluations, her schedule, her future. She backs down with visible reluctance. Of course, Patricia. But if the symptoms worsen, they won't. Patricia dismisses her with a wave. Run along. I'm sure you have actual emergencies to handle. Dr. Carter shoots Sarah an apologetic look before disappearing back into the treatment area. Sarah feels hope drain from her body like water from a broken vessel. Carlos Mendez pretends to mop near the reception desk, his weathered hands gripping the handle tighter as he watches the confrontation unfold. He's seen Patricia bully patients before, but never this viciously. His phone weighs heavy in his pocket. He knows he should record this, but hospital policy strictly forbids employee recordings. Patricia turns back to Sarah with renewed venom. Now that you've wasted the doctor's time with your theatrics, let me explain how things work here. You sit down. You wait quietly. You don't bother the medical staff with your paranoid fantasies about bleeding. But I am bleeding, Sarah insists, her voice rising slightly. I can feel it. Something is wrong. Lower your voice, Patricia hisses. This is a hospital, not a street corner. Sarah tries to comply, but desperation makes her bold. Please, I'm begging you. Just let someone examine me. 5 minutes, that's all I need. Patricia's face contorts with rage. Begging? Now we're getting to the truth. You think if you grovel enough, I'll take pity on you? You think tears and pleading will get you special treatment? I think basic human decency should get me medical care when I need it, Sarah replies, her teacher's instincts finally overriding her fear. The words hit Patricia like a slap. Her face flushes red and her hands clench into fists at her sides. Human decency? You want to lecture me about decency? I want someone to help me save my baby. Your baby? Patricia steps closer, invading Sarah's personal space. Let me tell you something about your baby. Maybe if people like you thought before you started breeding, we wouldn't have overcrowded schools, overloaded welfare systems, and emergency rooms full of people who can't afford the consequences of their choices. Gasps echo through the waiting room. Several patients pull out their phones openly now, recording Patricia's tirade. Carlos stops pretending to mop and positions himself where he can see everything clearly. Sarah's eyes fill with tears, but her voice grows stronger. You don't know anything about me or my family. You don't know what we've been through or what we've lost. I know enough, Patricia snarls. I know your type. Come in here acting helpless, expecting everyone else to fix your problems. Well, guess what? Your problems aren't my priority. My baby's life should be everyone's priority. The words hang between them like a gauntlet thrown down. Patricia's face turns purple with fury. She's lost control of the situation, lost control of her power, and she knows it. But instead of backing down, she doubles down. Stand up, Patricia orders. What? I said stand up. I want everyone in this waiting room to see exactly what entitlement looks like. Sarah remains seated, confusion and fear warring on her face. I don't understand. You will. Patricia grabs Sarah's arm and yanks her to her feet with brutal force. Sarah cries out as pain shoots through her back and abdomen. This, Patricia announces to the room, her voice carrying across the stunned silence, is what happens when people think pregnancy gives them the right to make demands. Her hand draws back, and for a moment, time seems suspended. Carlos reaches for his phone. Dr. Carter reappears at the treatment area entrance. Security guard Mike Foster takes a step forward. And Sarah Williams, elementary school teacher and wife of a man whose true identity none of them know, stands completely defenseless against the storm about to break over her head. Patricia's palm connects with Sarah's cheek with vicious force. The impact sends Sarah stumbling backward, her hand flying to her face as tears spring to her eyes. The sharp sting radiates through her jaw, but worse is the humiliation burning in her chest. The waiting room erupts in shocked murmurs. Did she just hit a pregnant woman? Someone whispers. Oh my God, someone call security! But security guard Mike Foster stands frozen, his hand hovering over his radio. Patricia is his supervisor's friend, part of the hospital's power structure. He's seen her complaints destroy careers before. Sarah staggers against a chair, her other hand instinctively protecting her unborn child. Blood rushes to her face where Patricia's handprint blooms like a crimson flower. You hit me, she gasps, disbelief making her voice small. Damn right I did. Patricia towers over her, chest heaving with righteous fury. And I'll do it again if you keep pushing me. This is my ER, and you'll show respect or get out. Dr. Jennifer Carter rushes forward, her medical training overriding hospital politics. Patricia, what are you doing? You can't assault a patient. Assault? Patricia whirls on the young doctor. She was being aggressive and threatening. I was defending myself. She's 8 months pregnant and bleeding. Dr. Carter kneels beside Sarah, checking her pulse. This is completely inappropriate. Dr. Carter, you're out of line. Patricia's voice turns deadly quiet. I suggest you return to your duties before I call your attending physician about your insubordination. The threat hangs heavy in the air. Dr. Carter's face flushes, but she helps Sarah back into her chair. I'm noting this incident in my report, she says quietly. You do that. Patricia's smile is as cold as winter. I'm sure the administration will be very interested in your version of events. Carlos Mendez can't stay silent anymore. He drops his mop with a clatter that echoes through the waiting room. I saw what happened. That lady didn't threaten anybody. Patricia's head snaps toward him like a cobra striking. Excuse me? Did I ask for your opinion, janitor? No, ma'am, but... Then keep your mouth shut and do your job, unless you'd prefer to find a new one. Carlos's weathered hands clench into fists, but he has 4 children and a mortgage. He picks up his mop with trembling fingers, his eyes burning with impotent rage. Sarah tries to stand again, desperate to escape this nightmare. I'll go to another hospital. I just want to leave. Sit down. Patricia blocks her path like a prison guard. You're not going anywhere until I decide you can go. You can't keep me here against my will. Watch me. Patricia pulls out her phone. Mike, get over here. We have a disruptive patient who needs to be restrained. Security guard Foster approaches reluctantly, his face ashen. Patricia, maybe we should just let her go to... Are you questioning my authority too? Patricia's voice rises to a shriek. Does anyone in this hospital remember who's in charge here? Sarah feels wetness spreading between her legs. The stress and trauma are triggering premature labor. Something's really wrong, she whispers. I think my water just broke. More dramatics. Patricia doesn't even look. You people will say anything to get attention. But Dr. Carter sees the growing stain on Sarah's dress and her face goes white. Patricia, she needs immediate medical attention. This could be a life-threatening emergency. The only emergency here is this woman's attitude problem. Sarah doubles over as a contraction rips through her abdomen. She's only 34 weeks pregnant. This baby is coming too early. Please, she gasps. Something's happening to my baby. Your baby will be fine when you learn to behave like a civilized human being. The cruelty of the words hits Sarah like a physical blow. She's been polite, patient, and desperate. She's done everything right, and still this woman treats her like garbage. A young mother across the room starts recording with her phone. This is insane, she mutters. Someone needs to stop this. Patricia notices the phone and storms over. Delete that right now. No way. This is assault and I'm documenting it. Hospital policy prohibits recording. Security. But Mike Foster has had enough. Patricia, I think you need to calm down. This situation is getting out of hand. Out of hand? Patricia's voice cracks with hysteria. I'm trying to maintain order in this zoo and everyone's turning against me. She spins back towards Sarah, who's now hunched over in obvious labor. This is all your fault. You came in here acting entitled, disrupting my ER, turning my staff against me. Sarah looks up through tears of pain and humiliation. I just wanted help from my baby. Your baby? Patricia's laugh is harsh and bitter. Let me tell you something about your baby. Maybe this is nature's way of telling you that some people shouldn't reproduce. The words hit the waiting room like a bomb. Even Patricia's supporters look horrified. Someone gasps, "Oh my God." Another person whispers, "She didn't just say that." Dr. Carter steps between them. That's enough, Patricia. I'm taking this patient to Trauma Bay 3 right now. You'll do no such thing. I'm the charge nurse and I'm a doctor with a patient in active labor. Dr. Carter's voice cuts through Patricia's protests. Get out of my way or I'll have you removed. Patricia's face contorts with pure malice. You know what, doctor? Maybe you need a lesson in authority too. She grabs the nearest phone and dials hospital administration. This is Patricia Hendricks in an emergency. I need security to remove two disruptive individuals, a patient who's been threatening staff and a resident who's being insubordinate. Carlos can't take any more. He pulls out his cell phone and starts recording. Hospital policy be damned. Lady, you're crazy. This woman needs help. Put that phone away right now or I'll have you arrested. For what? Doing what's right? Carlos keeps filming as Patricia's composure completely crumbles. More patients join in the recording. The waiting room becomes a chorus of dissent against Patricia's tyranny. This is disgusting, someone calls out. She hit a pregnant woman, another voice adds. Patricia realizes she's lost complete control. Her face turns purple with rage as she screams at the room. All of you shut up! I have 20 years of experience. I know what's best for patients. You don't know anything! Sarah cries out as another contraction hits, more violent than before. Dr. Carter checks her watch. The contractions are coming every 3 minutes now. Patricia, I'm taking her to delivery whether you approve or not. Over my dead body. For a moment, the two women face off like gunfighters at high noon. Then Patricia's phone buzzes with a text message. She glances at it and her face transforms from rage to confusion to growing horror. The message is from the hospital administrator. Emergency situation developing in ER. Mayor Williams en route with security detail. Prepare for immediate review of all protocols. Patricia's blood turns to ice. Mayor Williams? But that would mean... She looks at Sarah with new eyes, seeing past her simple clothes and exhausted appearance. The quiet dignity, the expensive wedding ring, the way she speaks, educated, articulate, despite her fear. What did you say your last name was? Patricia asks, her voice suddenly small. Sarah looks up through her pain. Williams. Sarah Williams. The phone slips from Patricia's numb fingers and shatters on the floor. Mayor James Williams has been all over the news lately. The young reformer fighting corruption, the man who's been investigating discrimination in city services, the man who's married to an elementary school teacher. Through the hospital's glass doors, Patricia sees a convoy of black SUVs pulling into the parking lot. Red and blue lights flash in the pre-dawn darkness. Patricia realizes she's been recorded assaulting and denying medical care to the mayor's wife. Her world is about to end. Sarah fumbles for her phone with shaking hands, each movement sending fresh waves of pain through her body. She avoided making this call all night, hoping she could handle the situation alone. But as another contraction grips her like a vice, she realizes she has no choice. The phone rings twice before a familiar voice answers. Sarah, what's wrong? James. Her voice breaks. I'm a Metropolitan General. Something's wrong with the baby, and they won't help me. The line goes silent for a heartbeat. When James speaks again, his voice carries a weight Sarah has rarely heard, the voice of a man accustomed to being obeyed. Stay exactly where you are. Don't move. Don't sign anything. Don't let anyone touch you until I get there. I'm bringing help. Patricia watches Sarah make the call with growing unease. Something about the pregnant woman's tone has shifted. The desperation is still there, but underneath it runs a current of quiet confidence, as if salvation is finally coming. 15 minutes later, the automatic doors burst open with a whoosh of cold morning air. But what enters isn't a worried husband and maybe a few family members. James Williams strides through the entrance like a force of nature, his presence commanding immediate attention. Behind him follows an entourage that makes the late-night ER staff freeze in place. Chief of Police Robert Martinez in full uniform, Hospital Board Chairman Thomas Bradley in an expensive suit despite the early hour, City Attorney Linda Thompson carrying a briefcase, and two news crews with cameras already rolling. Patricia stands behind her desk, watching this parade of power approach her domain. Her nursing instincts tell her to be deferential. These are obviously important people. But her pride refuses to bow down. Visiting hours are over, she announces, stepping into their path with false authority. You can't just storm in here because someone called you. This is a medical facility with rules and... Chief Martinez holds up his badge, the gold shield gleaming under fluorescent lights. Ma'am, we're here on official business. Patricia's confidence wavers slightly, but she doubles down. I don't care what kind of business you think you have. I'm the charge nurse of this emergency room, and I have final authority over who enters this treatment area. Board Chairman Bradley steps forward, his silver hair and expensive suit radiating the kind of power that comes from old money and older connections. Miss Hendricks, I'm Thomas Bradley, chairman of this hospital's board of directors. A flicker of recognition crosses Patricia's face, but she's too far down this road to turn back now. Mr. Bradley, I'm glad you're here. We've had a very disruptive patient tonight who's been threatening staff and— Where is my wife? The voice cuts through Patricia's explanation like a sword through silk. James Williams steps past the others, his eyes scanning the waiting room until they lock onto Sarah, still hunched in her plastic chair, tears streaming down her face. Patricia scoffs, her sense of superiority intact. Your wife? So what if you brought some big shots to intimidate me? Having important friends doesn't change the fact that she was being difficult and— Miss Hendricks, James says quietly, his voice carrying the kind of authority that doesn't need to be loud. I'm James Williams. Good for you, Mr. Williams. That doesn't change anything. Your wife still needs to follow hospital protocol and— I'm the mayor of this city. The words drop into the chaos of the ER like stones into still water, creating ripples of silence that spread outward until the entire waiting room falls quiet. Even the fluorescent lights seem to hum more softly. Patricia's face goes through a series of expressions, confusion, disbelief, then slowly dawning horror as the implications sink in. The pregnant woman she's been tormenting, humiliating, and denying care isn't just another welfare case. She's the wife of the most powerful elected official in the city. That's impossible, Patricia whispers. She doesn't look like— Like what? James's voice is deadly quiet. Like someone who deserves basic human dignity? Like someone whose life matters? Chief Martinez steps forward, his hand resting casually on his radio. We've received multiple reports of assault and medical negligence. I'm going to need to review the security footage from tonight. There's been a misunderstanding, Patricia stammers, all her earlier bravado evaporating like morning mist. Mrs. Williams the situation was— I didn't know who she was. City Attorney Thompson opens her briefcase and pulls out a legal pad. And that matters how, exactly? Are you saying patient care at this hospital depends on who someone is married to? Patricia realizes she's stepped into quicksand with every word. No, that's not what I meant. I treat everyone equally. Really? Dr. Carter appears from the treatment area, her face flushed with righteous anger. Because I witnessed you physically assault this woman and deny her emergency medical care for hours. Carlos Mendez steps forward, still gripping his mop handle like a weapon. I got it all on my phone. Everything she did, everything she said. The young mother with the recording holds up her device. Me too, the whole thing's already uploaded to social media. Patricia watches her 20-year career crumble in real time. The security cameras have recorded everything. Multiple witnesses have video evidence. The media is already here. There's no covering this up, no explaining it away, no making it disappear. James kneels beside Sarah's chair, his public persona melting away to reveal a terrified husband. I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner, sweetheart. Let's get you and our baby the care you need. Patricia tries one last desperate gambit. Mr. Mayor, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. If you could just give me a chance to explain. James stands slowly, and when he looks at Patricia, she sees something that chills her to the bone. Not anger. Anger would be better. What she sees is the cold, implacable gaze of justice itself. Miss Hendricks, he says quietly, the only misunderstanding here is yours. You thought power meant the right to abuse people. You're about to learn what real power actually does. The transformation happens instantly. Patricia Hendricks, who moments ago ruled this emergency room like a tyrant, now stands before the mayor with her hands trembling like autumn leaves. Mr. Mayor, please! She begins, her voice cracking. I had no idea who your wife was. If I had known— Stop! James's voice cuts through her desperate plea. That's exactly the problem, Miss Hendricks. You didn't think it mattered who she was. Hospital Administrator Dr. Margaret Hayes bursts through the ER doors, still adjusting her hastily thrown-on jacket. Her face is pale with the kind of panic that comes from knowing your career is about to implode. She takes one look at the scene, the mayor, the police chief, the news cameras, and Patricia standing in the center like a deer in headlights. Mr. Mayor, I came as soon as I heard. This is completely unacceptable and— Patricia Hendricks is suspended immediately, Board Chairman Bradley announces, his voice echoing through the waiting room. Security will escort her from the premises. Her access to all hospital systems is terminated effective now. Patricia's face goes white as paper. You can't do this. I have union protection. I have seniority. You need proper documentation and... City Attorney Thompson looks up from her legal pad. Actually, we have documentation. Hours of security footage, multiple witness testimonies, and video evidence of you assaulting a patient. The union won't protect you from criminal charges. Dr. Carter steps forward, her medical bag already in hand. Mrs. Williams, we need to get you to deliver immediately. Your contractions are coming every 2 minutes now. As James helps Sarah to her feet, Patricia makes one final desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage. Mrs. Williams, I sincerely apologize for any misunderstanding tonight. I was having a difficult shift, and I made some poor choices. If you could find it in your heart to... Sarah looks back at her, exhaustion and pain etched in every line of her face. You didn't apologize when you thought I was powerless, Miss Hendricks. You apologized when you found out who I was married to. The words hit Patricia like a physical blow. Around the waiting room, patients nod in agreement. Carlos Mendez puts away his mop and pulls out his phone again, making sure he captures Patricia's final moments of authority. I want her removed from this hospital immediately, Dr. Hayes tells security. Clear out her locker, collect her badge and keys. She's banned from all hospital property pending the investigation. 2 security guards approach Patricia, their faces grim but professional. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. This isn't fair, Patricia protests as they take her arms. I've worked here for 20 years. I know this hospital better than anyone. One mistake shouldn't... One mistake? Chief Martinez steps into her path. Ma'am, preliminary investigation suggests this isn't your first incident of discriminatory behavior. We'll be reviewing your entire employment record. As the security guards escort Patricia toward the exit, she passes Carlos Mendez. The janitor looks her straight in the eye, his weathered face showing no sympathy. 20 years, he says quietly. 20 years you've been treating people like dirt, thinking nobody important was watching. Guess you were wrong. Patricia's legs nearly give out as the full weight of her situation crashes down on her. Not only is she losing her job, she's facing criminal charges, assault on a pregnant woman, civil rights violations. The videos are already going viral on social media. Her name will be synonymous with hospital racism. Dr. Carter wheels a gurney into the waiting room as Sarah's condition deteriorates. We need to move now. This baby is coming whether we're ready or not. As James helps his wife onto the gurney, Chief Martinez signals to his officers. I want this entire incident documented. Every witness statement, every piece of video evidence, every security recording. And I want charges filed within 24 hours. The automatic doors close behind Patricia with a final whoosh, cutting her off from the world she'd controlled for 2 decades. Through the glass, she can see the news crews setting up their equipment, preparing to tell the story of her downfall to the entire city. Inside the ER, normalcy begins to return. Dr. Carter takes charge of Sarah's care with the kind of competence and compassion that should have been shown hours ago. Other staff members whisper among themselves, sharing stories they'd never dared tell before about Patricia's previous behavior. Carlos picks up his mop and returns to his work, but there's a spring in his step that wasn't there before. Justice, real justice, has finally come to the Metropolitan General's emergency room. And for the first time in 20 years, the night shift operates without fear. James holds Sarah's hand as they rush toward the delivery room. Everything's going to be okay now, he whispers. You're safe. Our baby's going to be safe. Outside in the parking lot, Patricia sits in her car, staring at her terminated employee badge, wondering how her world collapsed so completely in the span of 15 minutes. The answer is simple. It had been collapsing for 20 years. Tonight, someone finally noticed. 3 weeks later, the investigation into Patricia Hendricks has become a citywide reckoning. What started as one incident in an emergency room has peeled back layers of institutional discrimination that stretch back decades. District Attorney Sarah Carter sits in her downtown office, surrounded by boxes of evidence that paint a disturbing picture. Her desk is covered with complaint forms, witness statements, and video recordings that tell the same story over and over. Patricia Hendricks has been a predator in scrubs for years. 47 formal complaints, she tells her assistant, flipping through a thick folder. 47 times patients tried to report discriminatory treatment, and every single complaint was either dismissed or buried in bureaucratic red tape. The evidence is overwhelming. Security footage from multiple dates showing Patricia deliberately delaying care for minority patients. Recorded conversations where she makes racist comments to other staff members. Testimony from former colleagues who were too afraid to speak up until now. Dr. Marcus Johnson, a black physician who left Metropolitan General 2 years ago, finally breaks his silence. Patricia made my life hell, he tells investigators. She would forget to notify me about emergency cases, delay test results for my patients, even spread rumors about my competence. I knew it was because of my race, but proving it seemed impossible. The hospital's own records reveal a damning pattern. Under Patricia's supervision, Black and Hispanic patients waited an average of 2 hours longer for treatment than white patients with identical symptoms. Complaint resolution times followed the same racial disparities. Pain medication was prescribed less frequently to minority patients, regardless of medical need. Hospital Board Chairman Thomas Bradley calls an emergency meeting as the scope of the cover-up becomes clear. "How did we miss this for 20 years?" he demands. But the answer is uncomfortable. They didn't miss it. They ignored it. Former Administrator Dr. Richard Hayes, Margaret's predecessor, admits under oath that he received multiple warnings about Patricia's behavior. She was efficient, experienced, and the emergency department ran smoothly under her supervision. We chose to focus on those metrics rather than investigate discrimination claims that seemed subjective. The Federal Department of Justice launches its own investigation, sending a team of civil rights attorneys to review every aspect of Metropolitan General's operations. What they find shocks even seasoned investigators. "This wasn't just one rogue employee," explains FBI agent Maria Santos as she briefs the media. "This was systemic institutional failure. Multiple levels of management knew about discriminatory practices and chose to enable them rather than address them." The criminal trial begins 2 months after Sarah's baby is born. Maya Williams entered the world healthy despite her premature arrival, but the trauma her mother endured has left lasting scars on the entire family. Prosecutor Sarah Carter presents a methodical case that destroys any sympathy for Patricia. Video after video shows her treating patients with contempt based solely on their race. The courtroom gasps when Carlos Mendez's phone footage plays, showing Patricia's assault on a pregnant woman in crystal clear detail. Patricia's defense attorney, Robert Sterling, attempts multiple strategies. He argues she was overworked and stressed. He claims Sarah was aggressive and threatening. He suggests the racial discrimination allegations are exaggerated by opportunistic complainants seeking settlements. Every defense crumbles under the weight of evidence. Dr. Jennifer Carter takes the stand and destroys Patricia's credibility with clinical precision. "She told me this patient wasn't a priority because of her race and social status. When I tried to provide medical care, she threatened my career. She put personal prejudice above a patient's life." Carlos Mendez's testimony electrifies the courtroom. His weathered hands shake as he describes years of watching Patricia's cruelty. "I saw her make people wait in pain because she didn't like the color of their skin. I saw her refuse wheelchairs to elderly black folks while giving them to younger white patients. 20 years I watched, and nobody would listen to a janitor." The trial becomes a focal point for national discussions about healthcare equity. Medical schools across the country begin reviewing their curricula. Nursing boards examine their disciplinary procedures. Hospital systems implement real-time monitoring for bias in patient care. Judge Maria Rodriguez listens to weeks of testimony with growing disgust. During sentencing, she addresses Patricia directly. "Miss Hendricks, your actions represent not just individual prejudice, but the institutional failure that enables such prejudice to flourish. You abused a position of trust while vulnerable people sought help in their darkest moments." Patricia's sentence reflects the severity of her crimes. 18 months in federal prison for civil rights violations, complete loss of her nursing license, a $50,000 fine, and 500 hours of community service in minority healthcare clinics. The civil judgment awards the Williams family $2.3 million in damages, but the real victory comes in systematic change. Metropolitan General faces a $15 million federal settlement and 5 years of federal oversight. The hospital must implement comprehensive bias training, diversify its leadership, establish an independent patient advocacy office, and submit to regular audits of care disparities by race. The Sarah Williams Healthcare Equity Act passes through the state legislature with bipartisan support. The law requires all healthcare facilities to track and report patient care metrics by race, mandates bias training for all medical staff, and establishes an anonymous reporting system for discrimination complaints. 23 other states introduce similar legislation. Nursing boards nationwide add discrimination as grounds for automatic license revocation. Medical licensing exams begin including questions about implicit bias and cultural competency. Dr. Jennifer Carter is promoted to Chief of Emergency Medicine at Metropolitan General, becoming the youngest person ever to hold the position. Her first act is implementing a patient advocate program that ensures no one waits alone in pain ever again. Carlos Mendez receives recognition from the mayor's office for his courage in documenting Patricia's crimes. His video evidence became a training tool used in hospitals across the country to teach staff about the importance of speaking up against discrimination. The ripple effects continue spreading. Hospital systems nationwide review their complaint procedures. Federal grants for healthcare facilities become tied to demonstrated equity in patient outcomes. Anonymous bias reporting systems become standard practice. Patricia Hendricks begins serving her sentence at minimum security federal prison, where she participates in mandatory bias education programs. She writes letters of apology to former patients, though many remain undelivered by request of the recipients. But perhaps the most important change is cultural. The video of Patricia's assault on Sarah Williams has been viewed millions of times, becoming a stark reminder that discrimination in healthcare isn't just morally wrong, it's criminal. Healthcare workers across the country now think twice before letting bias influence their treatment decisions. They remember Patricia Hendricks, and they remember that someone is always watching. Justice, it turns out, has a very long memory. 6 months later, Sarah Williams sits in her sunlit living room cradling baby Maya against her chest. The infant's tiny fingers wrap around Sarah's thumb with surprising strength. Afternoon light streams through lace curtains, casting gentle shadows across family photos that now include their newest member. James reads from his tablet, scrolling through news coverage of healthcare reforms. "Another state just passed the Williams Act," he says quietly. "That makes 26 states now requiring bias monitoring in hospitals." Sarah adjusts Maya's blanket, her voice soft with reflection. "I never wanted to be the center of attention. I just wanted my baby to be safe. But if what happened to me helps other families avoid the same trauma, then maybe some good came from it." The changes have been profound and lasting. Metropolitan General Hospital has become a model for equitable health care. The waiting room where Sarah suffered now displays a plaque dedicated to patient dignity. New policies ensure every person receives compassionate care, regardless of race or income. Dr. Jennifer Carter's voice echoes through the hospital during shift changes, reminding staff of their oath to, first, do no harm. Patient satisfaction scores have reached record highs across all demographics. The culture of fear Patricia fostered has been replaced by genuine care and accountability. Carlos Mendez still works nights, but now volunteers as a patient advocate. His hands that once gripped a mop in frustration now comfort frightened families. "Everyone deserves to be treated like somebody important," he tells new staff during orientation. Federal oversight has yielded remarkable results. Wait time disparities by race have been eliminated. Pain management protocols are standardized and bias-free. The anonymous reporting system has prevented dozens of potential discrimination cases through early intervention. Across the country, the Sarah Williams effect continues rippling through healthcare systems. Nursing schools require cultural competency courses. Medical boards conduct surprise equity audits. Hospital administrators know discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's financially and legally catastrophic. Patricia Hendricks serves her sentence quietly, participating in bias education programs she wishes had existed 20 years ago. Her case study is taught in ethics classes, a cautionary tale about unchecked prejudice destroying both victims and perpetrators. The Williams family established the Maya Williams Scholarship Fund, supporting minority students pursuing healthcare careers. They quietly use settlement money to ensure the next generation of medical professionals reflects community diversity. Sarah has returned to teaching with a new perspective on advocacy. Her students still call her Mrs. W, but now she also speaks at medical conferences about patient experience. Her quiet strength has become a powerful voice for healthcare equity. Looking directly into a documentary camera, Sarah speaks with the authority of someone who survived injustice and created lasting change. Discrimination in healthcare isn't rare, it's just rarely recorded. Every patient deserves dignity, regardless of race, income, or who they know. If you see injustice, speak up, record it, report it, don't wait for someone else to act. James adds his perspective. Change happens when ordinary people refuse to accept extraordinary injustice. Patricia thought my wife was powerless, but every person has power when they demand basic human dignity. The camera captures Maya sleeping peacefully, unaware her traumatic entry helped make hospitals safer for countless other children. Statistics tell the transformation story. Healthcare discrimination complaints decreased 60% in Williams Act states. Patient satisfaction among minority communities reached historic highs. Medical schools report bias and equity discussions have become central to curricula. But beyond statistics lies a deeper truth. Healthcare culture has fundamentally shifted. The video of Patricia's assault serves as a permanent reminder that discrimination has consequences. Someone is always watching, and justice may be delayed but won't be denied. If this story moved you, share it. Healthcare discrimination affects millions of Americans yearly. Your voice can help ensure Patricia Hendricks's behavior becomes unthinkable rather than typical. Have you experienced or witnessed healthcare discrimination? Share your story in the comments. What would you have done in Sarah's situation? Follow for more stories where justice prevails against systemic bias. Like if you believe healthcare should be equitable for everyone. Here's what we want you to think about. Patricia Hendricks probably went to work that night believing she was just doing her job. She likely went home convinced she'd handled a difficult patient appropriately. How many other Patricia Hendricks are working right now, convinced their bias is actually professionalism? And more importantly, what are you going to do to make sure the next pregnant woman who walks into an emergency room gets the care she deserves, regardless of the color of her skin? Sometimes the most powerful weapon against injustice isn't anger or violence. Sometimes it's simply refusing to stay silent when someone's dignity is under attack.
The story you heard today wasn't cleaned up. It was told exactly as it happened. At Black Voices Uncut, we believe that's the only way truth can live. If you felt something, hit like, comment, and your reaction, and subscribe. Every week, we bring you voices that refuse to be silenced.